Hey everyone, welcome to your midweek market update with Mo. So, as per what we did on Monday, we will start off with the dollar and just work our way through the multiple asset classes to see how things have changed. We've had a very major development occur today, just a couple of minutes ago, on the Nvidia earnings. Nvidia have beat their Q1 earnings, surprise, surprise, as per expected. And what we are currently seeing, or what we will see soon as part of this video, is how has that impacted the Nasdaq, which houses Nvidia. Nvidia is the king of the chip sector, the tech sector, whatever you want to call it. So it'll be interesting to see what Jensen comes out in his earnings call a bit later on today, and how the market eats it up. Because for the market right now, just Nvidia beating earnings is not enough as a catalyst to send the Nasdaq or anything else higher. So, yep, eyes on the Nvidia earning call a bit later on today. I will send an update on that on tomorrow via a short. But for now, let's see how things unfolded. So before going ahead, we want to start with the US dollar, but I want to start with the macroeconomic outlook first. So the whole discussion between Trump, USA, Iran is nearing a conclusion. So currently, as it stands, there is a peace agreement coming out of Tehran that is close to being signed off. Pakistan is leading the delegation for that, and it is believed that the deal will probably be signed in the next couple of hours. So the initial reaction that we saw today as a result of that was dollar selling off. Surprise, surprise. So the dollar selling off was expected because of the fact that we are risk on and dollar is a safe haven, as I highlighted on Monday. So the dollar began to sell off. It gave away some of its gains that it established yesterday, as we call for a bullish dollar on Monday. So where do I see the dollar going heading into the remainder of the week? If we drop down from the daily time frame down to, let's say, the 4 hour, which is a good interweekly time frame, we can see the dollar try to drop below the low that established on Monday and Tuesday, but failed to do so. Now, it's gone back into the holding pattern, probably waiting for more news out of Tehran. So two things could actually potentially happen here. If the deal goes ahead and there are no hiccups, we can potentially see DXY do something like this and move its way lower. Now, do I believe the whole premise that we are now bearish DXY again is true? I think it's way too early to say that. As you can see, we've had this huge move up on the dollar, showing a risk off narrative. So I don't think we've seen the last of it. And another plus point that I want to raise is look at this gap that we have left behind. Currently, we are playing around at the midpoint of the gap, but essentially what happened is we're likely to go ahead and fill it. As a result of that, I would say we'll probably have seeing a technical pullback, but more bullish continuation on the dollar. And another point which I want to bring up to everybody is that DXY has a bullish seasonality soon heading into June. So with the bullish seasonality heading into June, you should expect indices, FX, everything else to sell off against the dollar. And we should look to have that technical pullback that the overall market is expecting. So yeah, we'll come back to DXY later on in the week to see how we are at. But right now, it's two things. Either it's going to be up and down, or it's going to be just up and continue on up if there's no resolution from Tehran. Okay, so my narrative or my stance on dollar is a wait and watch approach. I would say if tomorrow we have a reaction from this sort of area, we can probably go back to risk on temporarily. I favor more of a risk off narrative currently. And you'll see why when I get back to the indices and the tech sector. So moving on to the Nasdaq. So the Nasdaq, what did the Nasdaq do today? So if we look at Nasdaq on the intraday time frame, which is the 50-minute, we see that right off open, which is around this time period here, we went up. And from there, then we consolidated ahead of Nvidia. Now the Nvidia earnings drop had a mixed reaction. Initially, we sold off, it was bought back, but now we're selling off again, which just basically means that we're just waiting earnings. I would not look into this seriously. On a daily time frame, we had our first bullish day in Nasdaq in a couple of days now, which means that quite a bit of chips will be up, and we'll go through the Nvidia, Tesla, and Apple stocks in a minute to see where they're at. Do I believe this low is in? This was the low that was created on Tuesday with all the DXY bullish narrative. I don't think so. So probably want to keep an eye on. Likely we will maybe grind a bit lower and heading into June, and then we'll see where we're at. So on Nasdaq, I would say is for the remainder of the week, I'm looking for somewhat of a continuous sell-off, given that Nvidia doesn't drop any surprises. So if everything would stay as is, I would expect the Nasdaq to sell off, and as a result, stocks to sell off a bit because the main catalyst right now was Nvidia, which is now passed away. All right, so now let's have a look at oil. So oil is one which I highlighted in my shorts yesterday. So oil is in a place where it's tried to break out yesterday, and if it were to do so, but you see how it's making all these highs. I call this as a continuous hammer to go higher. So we tried once, we tried twice, we tried third time. The range currently is getting tighter and tighter on oil. So, and as a result, I believe personally that there is a breakout incoming, which also builds upon my risk off narrative, where I expect a certain cool down in assets, because when oil goes up, what it tends to mean, it creates a producer side and a consumer side inflationary impact. And then the Federal Reserve, which is your interest rate controllers, they are less likely to go ahead for interest rate cuts. When the market prices in lower interest rate cuts, naturally people want to shift away from your risk on assets more towards risk off. So things like gold, Nasdaq, your stocks, your Bitcoin, all of them begin to sell off. So one to watch on. I think the move down oil is more fundamental and news driven currently. From the chart standpoint, I don't think anything has changed. I still see us going higher. So we'll come back to that, and I expect stocks to continue on selling off. Now, having a quick look at gold, as gold is a favorite of many. So gold, as we discussed on Monday, a continuous grind lower. Again, same question being asked, do I think we're going to start going up from here? Maybe a small bounce, but overall on a weekly time frame, I still see a room to go lower. A quick tip for all the avid day traders: whenever something like this happens, when we have a rapid sell-off and then we leave this massive wick on the weekly time frame, we need more than just a small tap into it. So I would expect gold to sell off a bit more heading onto the remainder of the week. I think this is the only sort of pullback we're going to get for the week. Maybe tomorrow we go a bit more higher, but I think a continuous sell-off is very, very likely with a dollar rebound. And to wrap up on the midweek market updates, we can look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is, guys, technically I would say it's just a stay away from Bitcoin right now. It's had this ugly drive higher. Now it's held this consolidation. We are staying below the February highest close. I like to mark these. I might like to mark these sort of levels. So we're staying below the February highest close of the month, which basically is telling me that we may have a bit more room to go lower on Bitcoin. So I think I've given the narrative that I want to see us to go a bit more lower, maybe inside this weekly candle. Will be a great place for people to enter buys if they want. And then if we continue on grinding lower, I don't see us staying below 65k for long. So keep an eye on that. See where we're at with Bitcoin. But for now, I would say if you want, you can dollar cost average here, but be a bit more patient. I do see lower prices with the whole bullish dollar narrative, oil going up, and everything to follow. Now, quickly looking at a couple of stock picks that I see. So we spoke about how Nvidia currently is, post its earnings, is still holding on where it closed. If I were you and I wanted to add Nvidia to my portfolio, I would wait for a correction to about the 200 time frame to then go back up again. I see Nvidia having much room to go higher. A turn of Nvidia at 236 is, I would call it a short-term pullback sort of range. Something for a longer-term pullback, I would say you want to see close to 250s. We spoke about the $50 range in stocks as they are very sensitive levels. So for Nvidia, I would say is I'm expecting a grind lower, maybe come down around the 200 time frame, bottom from there, and then we make the next leg higher. Similar story for Tesla. Tesla had a wonderful move higher, a small technical correction. I do see us probably going a bit lower. But for Tesla, I said buying at 400 is not the end of the world. So you could probably get from 400 back up to 500, to be honest. And the overall structure does look bullish. So buying Tesla here or holding Tesla around here, anywhere between now and 400 is not a bad shout. So definitely one to look out for. Apple is in, I would call, price discovery. It's currently trading at its all-time highs. And my advice to individuals at all-time high is to trade stocks in ranges. So if you look at Apple, technically, whenever it's had a technical pullback, the pullback for Apple lasts about $20 to $30. Okay, so if we're holding above 300, I want to say that you are good to probably hold Apple up to about 320, 330 before the next technical pullback occurs. So 300 is not a bad shout to buy at still, to go higher, because I will not try to short all-time highs. So just continue on playing the trend and continue on playing higher. A stock which I'm actually looking out for, and one which could do well in the longer term, is if you are a Bitcoin adversary, is your MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy had sold off excessively because of Bitcoin. It's in a sort of hold approach as Bitcoin is playing its role. I'd see if MicroStrategy drips below 100 or goes close to 100 again, it is a straight buy to hold to go back up to its highs. Similarly, Microsoft is another one which I feel is one of the laggers of the tech sector. Microsoft had this huge sell-off. It entered a technical bear market for a little while. So it's another one you want to keep an eye on. And any other further drops, I would say you could probably buy close to 400 again to hold to go back up to the 500s. So yeah, for now, I would say people, a couple of stocks you could look to buy, such as Tesla, but ideally I would say it's probably wait and watch. If you are at the highs, maybe do a bit of profit taking and then look to buy a bit later on. If you're a day trader, I've given you my bias, I've given you my direction, so you can trade accordingly. But yes, I would also just want to add before you wrap up that anything in this video that's been mentioned is not financial advice. Please reach out to your financial planner for anything and everything. This is for educational purposes and just for me providing my view of how the market is. So that's it for today. Thank you very much, everybody. And we will hopefully catch up again on Friday to wrap up the week. Have a good one, everyone. And take care. Bye-bye.